Travis, what did you think about Quay Walker going to Green Bay and Elam going to Buffalo as early as he did?
I actually had Elam going around this. I think in multiple mocks that I wrote up had Elam going, I think, exactly in this spot or maybe one pick later. So, I think honestly, I think a lot of people had him in the 30s, but this is where I kind of had him. I actually had him ahead of Trent McDuffie. McDuffie's got the length issues, I think. And so I had less questions, I think, with Elam. I love that he was an early declare kind of prospect and was really confident in him. But Quay Walker, I think many people were surprised that Nakobe Dean kept falling in the way that he did. And, it ended up being that, he had a slight tear or something like that, some kind of concern in his pec. And there was doubts as to whether he was going to have surgery. Apparently he's not going to have surgery, whatever. I don't know what else contributed to Nakobe Dean's drop other than him being a tweener, but I think he's better than Quay. And so it was really surprising to me that Quay Walker, who really profiles as like a linebacker of old, like I feel like his skill set, I mean, he's okay in coverage, but he looks more like a linebacker from 2010 than he does a linebacker from 2022. He wasn't even a top 5 player on his own defense. So for him to go this early was flat out confusing. And, one of the worst picks in the first round, in my opinion.
So I actually got some information on Nakobe Dean from a source. He had a foot, an ankle, a knee, a hip, and a shoulder injury, the pectoral injury.
He's falling apart.
His laundry list of injuries was a mile long, and it wasn't that he didn't need surgery. He did. He elected to not have it because he didn't think that he needed it. So it wasn't a full tear of the pectoral, it's a partial tear. At least that's what a source told me. So
I got that it was essentially like the equivalent of a strain is what I heard, but
okay.
Yeah.
But that would be why Nakobe Dean fell to 88 or whatever the heck it was to
crazy.
Philadelphia. Like, it's a long fall for him. A guy that a lot of people that I know in the industry had as a top 20 potential player. Like, there's a long list of reasons why he fell.
I'm sure the Eagles aren't complaining about it.
No.
The Eagles should just make him inactive at all games at FedEx Field for his entire career.
I definitely don't think they're complaining about it. They got a massively good player at number 80, where he could sit out for the whole season and next season and then play and be a big part of that defense moving forward because he's a leader. He was a leader of that Georgia Bulldog team, and a lot of people say he was the best player on that team throughout the season. So that says a lot for him and his leadership. Ray, your Cowboys, who a lot of people did not like their draft, they actually gave you saw Pat McAfee gave the Cowboys an F-. I mean, a couple of people didn't really like what they did. What were your thoughts of Tyler Smith from Tulsa going to the Cowboys?
So I actually had a bigger problem with the Cowboys' second-round pick than I did their first. Linderbaum
talking about the rapist. You talking about the rapist?
Allegedly.
That's what Jerry Jones was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So with Smith, right, you had Linderbaum on the board there, but the Cowboys don't really take guys that don't meet their sort of physical thresholds, right? You got the short arms and small hands and whatever else. Iowa has their own questionable strength and conditioning program methods over there, and he still couldn't reach 300 pounds. So I get why they, didn't go that route. And the thing with Smith is, there's a lot of penalties there, but you watch the tape, I forget what it was. It was 12 or 14 penalties or whatever this past season. You move him to guard, which is the plan. At least half of those are eliminated right off the bat because half of those penalties are him just being extra on the island over there on the outside and just trying to bully people, kind of like a kid on the playground that just is just angry at, his parents or something. And the other half is just, technical work. I get what they see in the upside there, and you put him next to Tyron Smith, that veteran presence there alongside him on the left side, and it's fine. They just went through a year of Connor Williams just not being strong enough and having his own struggles with holding penalties because he just physically couldn't hold up against the bull rush against some of the bigger opponents and so forth. You especially saw that in the last game there against the 49ers. So I get the pick. I don't love it, but they really were wiped out. There were no good receivers there for them to take. I guess Dean, they probably weren't taking him anyway because of his size concerns, but you have the injuries there, and you saw how far he fell. So I get why they took it. Do I love it? No, but understand it, and they were kind of wiped out. So I get going with the upside of a guy like Smith there, super young, just turned 21. So, plug him into Smith and, let him grow and develop there a bit. I think his best spot long-term is at guard, even though he does have some tackle length. But I wouldn't force it to tackle just because, hey, we drafted this guy pretty high, so I want him at tackle in 3 years. Don't force it. If he thrives at guard, let him, because that does eliminate some of the deficiencies you do see in his game.
Nakobe Dean on the Cowboys would be funny. They just should play 10 linebackers and Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, right.
John.
Well, don't play. Yeah, go ahead.
John, Tyler Lindenbaum going to the Baltimore Ravens. I think this was a great pick by them. What did you think about Tyler Lindenbaum going to the Baltimore Ravens?
Tyler Linderbaum is very, very strong. I know Ray just mentioned he never got up to 300 pounds, and that is surprising. But this is a guy that in high school was beating Tristan Wirfs in wrestling, I believe, for the state championship, if I remember that correctly. So he's got some real grit to his game. But I love what the Ravens were doing, and they did this the entire draft. And it was basically they felt their roster was loaded enough where they could just take the best guy who's all left on the board. And that's what they did the entire time. And Linderbaum going to 25, he was arguably the best guy on the board. I guess you could make the argument that Jermaine Johnson, who went next, is the best guy because, a lot of people had him going top 10. But Linderbaum fits what they want. They want to protect Lamar Jackson this year. And it wasn't a good spot to try to reach and grab a receiver after moving Marquise Brown. So made all the sense in the world to me. I loved it. And he's going to be awesome down there in Baltimore.
Lance, I know you mentioned Jermaine Johnson. Tennessee was on the clock. They traded with the Jets. The Jets really didn't give up as much as a lot of people thought they were going to have to give up for Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson was a guy that the Jets, a lot of people said that were really undecided to go with Garrett Wilson at 10 or Jermaine Johnson. They still got Garrett Wilson and they got Jermaine Johnson. What were your thoughts when the Jets traded up from the second round to 26 with Tennessee to get arguably one of the best pass rushers in this draft class?
It really didn't surprise me to see them go up and go get Jermaine Johnson because I heard buzz that they were willing to take him at number 4 and see if Sauce Gardner fell all the way to number 10 because they had intel that the Seahawks were on Derek Stingley at number 9. And when Stingley went at number 3 to the Houston Texans, they decided, well, we'll see, we'll get Sauce Gardner here and we'll see what happens. Garrett Wilson didn't go at number 8 to the Falcons like he was going to, and then Jermaine Johnson just kept falling. And eventually they decided, you know what, we'll give up, what was it, 35 or something like that, and then another couple late round picks to move back up into the first round.
They swapped thirds. They gave up the second. They gave up their first. They swapped seconds. They gave up they swapped thirds. They gave up their second, and they gave them a fifth.
Yeah, to move up and go and get a guy that they had as a top 10 player on their board that just kept falling. And apparently from the sound of it, they were calling everybody from 15 down and finally found a trade partner to go and get a guy that they had as a top 10 player on their board. You're talking twitchy, strong, athletic, couldn't fit in on the Georgia roster. So he transferred to Florida State and then absolutely shined down there, destroyed the Senior Bowl by all accounts, was one of the best players there in one-on-one. According to a lot of people, was the number 4 edge defender on the board to get him at number 26 overall after a slight trade up essentially for them and not giving up a whole lot to get him. It's a genius move. To have those guys get Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson, who are all 3 top 10 players on their board, is tremendous.
Devin Lloyd goes to, from Utah to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, everybody knows what Jacksonville was trying to do. They're trying to rebuild that defense. It was a problem last year, especially in the second half of the season. They couldn't get to the quarterback, and that's why they added Walker. They added Devin Lloyd. Devonta Wyatt goes to the Green Bay Packers. Travis, what were your thoughts when that happened?
I thought that was actually a good pick, unlike their other one this round. So congratulations on that one. They just they kept on alternating though. Good pick, bad pick. Good pick, bad pick. And again, in just a few picks after this one, bad pick. But Devonta Wyatt. I mean, from a technical standpoint, he's probably more. Well, it's not probably. He's definitely sharper than Jordan Davis. But the thing about Jordan Davis is, he's just a massive friggin' human being that can throw your tight end with his left arm and take out two other offensive linemen with his other. And so, that's why he's a problem. But Wyatt was always going to be a first-round talent, in my opinion, and could have even gone higher. I think I had him higher in some mocks that I wrote up. So really excellent pick right here. They needed this exact position. So
honestly, I thought Devonta Wyatt was better than Walker. I really did. And the fact that Walker, the fact that Walker went 1 and Wyatt fell to 28, because he was, to me, watching the Bulldogs in the championship game against Alabama, Wyatt in the second half was all over the place. He was dominating the line of scrimmage. They could not stop him. He was throwing people around. I was so surprised when I heard Walker jump from like 10 all the way to 1, and Walker at certain games this year disappeared. He really wasn't as dominant as everybody said he was.
He wasn't even a starter the whole season.
So how he went number 1 is surprising to me. It just shows you how bad Jacksonville is.
Leave it to Jacksonville. Just take the random second half breakthrough pass rusher just because he has longer arms than Aiden Hutchinson.
And by the way, their weakest part of their team is their offensive line. And adding Robinson and give him an extension, that's great. You had a chance to take your pick on offensive linemen, and you decide to go with pass rush, which, by the way, yes, has been a problem, but you picked the worst one out of all of them. So it never made sense on why they went with Walker. I started laughing when Walker's name got called out because the Lions were laughing to the bank because they got the hometown kid. He goes there. And then I have no idea how Jermaine Johnson went to 26. I don't know. The Jets, I think that the gods from up in the air or wherever they were from, they say, you know what, I'm a Jet fan. You suck so long, okay? So we're going to give you a gift. We're going to give you the best wide receiver. We're going to give you a top 3 pass rusher and arguably the best corner in this year's draft. And let's see if this team could actually make the playoffs. Not this year, but in the next couple of years. So I guess the gods actually helped the Jets.
Also,
I mean, seriously.
Also, it really felt like his hype, too, really only came after, John, you mentioned the Ravens with getting all the value picks. They drafted Ojabo, too, in the second round. It really only happened after Ojabo's injury that all of a sudden Trayvon Walker went from like a mid-first round pick, people were thinking, to all of a sudden in the top 10 in the Jacksonville. He's all the betting favorite to go number 1.
John, what were your thoughts of Cole Strange going to the Patriots? Oh my God, this was the shake of everybody's head during the draft. And by the way, this might work. Knowing the Patriots, this guy will become an all-time best guard. It seems like that to happen. But when Cole got called up and his name got called, some people said he was a mid-second round pick. So What were your thoughts of Cole Strange going to the Patriots in the first round?
So I was I'll message people, player personnel directors about this time of the year, right after the draft, kind of to see what's going on with NFL teams coming in their programs and who they're looking at. And the guy who was the player personnel director of the UT Chattanooga at the time, he's now at Western Kentucky. I messaged him last May and I said, is there anybody coming to come look at your guys? And he said, yeah, the last year teams have been lined up to see Cole Strange. And I was like, really? So I was on Cole Strange pretty early in the process. I knew that as soon as he was on the Senior Bowl watch list, I knew he was going to go. I knew you were going to see that. The Senior Bowls had a couple lower guys, particularly offensive linemen the last couple of years really stand out. Ben Barch a couple of years ago, Quinn Miners last year. And so I knew he was just going to be the next guy. But this is a very strong individual. And we saw that at the Senior Bowl. You saw that on tape when they played Kentucky. He's got really great balance. He needs to put on another 10 to 15 pounds to really, take advantage of that. But he's a lot like Joe Thuney, who they just lost. So it makes all the sense in the world to take him. And yeah, like Jim Nagy said, who's a Senior Bowl director, that a lot of teams he was talking to had him in the mid-second round. So to me, it made all the sense in the world. I loved it. It made sense.